James drove his RAV4 hybrid into the frozen wilderness. The scent of his jerky attracted a hungry wolf pack behind him. To survive, he had to remain fearless. He would hunt with them and expand their territory. He'd form a bond with a wolf named Acalia, become den mother, and nurse their young. James left in search of his next adventure. How far will you take the all-new RAV4 hybrid? Toyota, let's go places.
Elation for Jazz fans, heartbreak for Clippers fans. The NBA playoffs, one game in, already plenty of excitement. Maggie Gray, Ryan Aselta, Jordan Schultz, NBA analyst, going to be with us throughout the playoffs. Really appreciate you being here, Jordan. We're going to play a game called Hot Take or Smart Take. We're going to give you a hot take about the NBA playoffs in their infancy right now, just a game in. You tell us if it may also be the smart take as well. So the MVP race, it may be over. The votes have already been cast. But if game one was any indication, James Harden outplayed his counterpart, Russell Westbrook. So we've made James Harden our adrenaline performer. It's presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Here is the hot take that game one between Houston and Oklahoma City put the MVP race to bed. It is Harden over Westbrook. Jordan, is that the hot take and also the smart take?
Terrible take.
It's not my take. This is a group effort.
Whose take is that? Whose take is this?
This is teamwork here. It's not my personal take.
Harden was great, goes for 37, didn't even shoot the ball from three well, and yet all of a sudden people are, James Harden, he's the best player in the league. You know, I look at Russell Westbrook, and he obviously had a really rough night. 8 for 23. He was guarded, I thought, really well. But with Harden, it's more about, for me, the supporting cast. You know, getting Patrick Beverley to chip in. Clint Capella gets a dunk. You know, there's just a combination of guys that Oklahoma City simply doesn't have. And I think, you know, when they got Victor Oladipo, Oklahoma City thought maybe we have a Robin to Russell Westbrook's Batman. It has not happened. And I also look at Steven Adams not making, to me, that next step necessarily offensively. So Harden has the supporting class and clearly more help.
I just wonder if Billy Donovan's going to start playing Adams and Cantor together a little bit more than we saw in game one. Are the Rockets a legitimate contender in the West after watching one game? So
for me, the answer is no. I think if you look at them, they're still 14th in the NBA in defensive efficiency. You look at some of these elite teams, San Antonio, Golden State, they're 1 and 2. Houston is awesome because they score, and they're going to hit a ton of threes. They're going to push a lot of pick and roll. Trevor Ariza didn't even play well, and yet all of a sudden Houston's able to blow out Oklahoma City. For me, though, I don't think you can win an NBA championship in this day and age against teams like Golden State and San Antonio that shoot the ball that well if you don't defend. And they've improved under D'Antoni, but still not anywhere near where they need to be.
You make a good point. How have they fared against them? 2-6 combined against Golden State and San Antonio. But one win, always a little bit of overreaction. Excited. All of a sudden, Houston's
that's what we do.
The hot contender. Yeah. How about the underdogs? 3 of them prevailed in game one. You had Milwaukee, Utah, Chicago. The hot take, the Bulls pulled off the most impressive win of the underdogs and can pull off the 1-8 upset. What do you think?
Is this the Kembe Mutombo circa 1994 with the Sonics?
At least that was the best of 5.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Gonna be tough.
I was really impressed with Milwaukee, but to your point, Boston going home or losing at home to Chicago is a big deal. They were out-rebounded 53-36. And the biggest thing with Boston is, to me, and this is what Danny Ainge got criticized for, they didn't get another wing scorer at the deadline. You saw it yesterday when you're playing Marcus Smart late with Avery Bradley. I think they struggle. And, you know, with Isaiah Thomas, he's going to go out and get you 25 to 30. But again, like a Russell Westbrook with Oklahoma City, who's going to be that second or even third scorer? Boston, to me, doesn't have it. And Chicago, for as poorly as they played down the stretch, you saw they can kind of grit and grind you down, in the last 5 minutes of a game. And that was really impressive to me to win on the road. But going back to Milwaukee, talked to Jason Kidd right before the playoffs. He said they were loose, and despite not having Jabari Parker, I think you saw their length, and obviously Giannis was terrific. Milwaukee is a team that can absolutely beat Toronto in a prolonged series.
Do you believe in that, the idea that in early round series, the team with the best player on the court is usually the one that advances? We could have seen that with Giannis. We could have seen that with Jimmy Butler and the Bulls.
Yeah, it's a matter of also who's playing the best. I think with like DeMar DeRozan, he played well, but again, Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, what do you go 2 for 11? That's just not going to get it done. I know he hasn't been healthy, but you can't. If you're an all-star point guard, you have to be better. So Giannis was great. I think with Milwaukee too, they were able to ugly it up, something that Toronto didn't like. But again, with Westbrook, going back to him, I think he's the MVP, and that to me is the best series in terms of from a watchability perspective because you have the 2 best players I think in the league right now.
Okay, we started the show off with it. ISO Joe, Joe Jesus, whatever you want to call him. He's got some great nicknames. He came through with a game winner for the Jazz, but this was right after Chris Paul hit a circus shot to tie the ball game. Now, the hot take is Joe Johnson is a better playoff performer than Chris Paul. Is that also the smart take?
Ooh, that's a smart take right there.
Wow,
really?
You know, not a better player, although Joe Johnson just hit 20,000 points, and he's making a Hall of Fame career, or at least a push. Chris Paul, though, Maggie, has never been to a conference final. I find that baffling for a player that people think is one of the best 3 to 5 point guards ever. I'm not saying Joe Johnson's better, but from a playoff perspective, also nobody in the NBA the last 3 years or 5 years has hit more game winners than Joe Johnson. I know that sounds nuts. But for me, it's a matter of with the Clippers. The bigger picture here is, once again, they're in the playoffs. They had beaten Utah 18-20 going into that game. They lose Rudy Gobert, the Jazz do, the first minute of the game, and yet all of a sudden Utah controls that game. They beat him in the paint, and Chris Paul, though he played well and had that flurry, to me, just not good enough. That's on him. I'm sorry. It's on him.
Well, because he has a great supporting cast as well. It's not like he's out there, by himself. This is an interesting stat. Our associate producer, Gene, came up with this one and found it. Since 2000, every team in the Western Conference has made it at least to the Western Conference Finals, except for Chris Paul's New Orleans Hornets and Chris Paul's LA Clippers.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he remember early on in his career, they lost to San Antonio and New Orleans, and everybody was like, he almost got there. He'll do it. It's kind of like a Carmelo Anthony effect. 2 great players, 2 Hall of Fame guys, and yet neither one of them has been able to sustain playoff success. I love Chris Paul. He's a great player, and I think part of this is on DeAndre Jordan, part of it's on Blake. But again, if you're Chris Paul and you're a Hall of Famer, this is not acceptable. You have to find a way to control the game and get a win.
How do the Clippers let a guy nicknamed ISO Joe end up in an isolation situation in the final seconds of a playoff game? Are you kidding me? Come on.
He's 48 years old. You got to find a way to get the ball out of his hands. Like I said, more game winners than anybody in the last 5 years.
And he did it again. All right, move to the Eastern Conference now. John Wall was so in the zone. He scored 32 points, grabbed 14 rebounds in Game 1. He even gave the Michael Jordan palms up, shoulder shrug at one point. The hot take, John Wall is the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. Jordan, is that the smart take?
This is some smart take right here. I mean, this is caliente. This is hot. Ryan, a Celtic. He's been playing golf with the Masters. It's been warm. He's feeling good about himself, making a couple of birdies.
This is nothing but fairways and greens for a Celtic.
Exactly. Maggie knows all about it. Listen, John Wall right now, I don't even think it's close. 51 double-doubles this season.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, who's probably considered the other great point guard in the East, right? He has 35 for his career. 34 for his career. So you get a sense of John Wall, what he's able to do. The biggest difference this year for me has been the efficiency in the pick and roll. If you look at some of the advanced analytics, I don't want to get too technical, but absolutely incredible, lethal in pick and roll. He's also been great at the hockey assist, that second pass. For me, right now with John Wall, no point guard, including Steph Curry, is playing better or more confidently, and he's really become, to me, one of the best 3 in the league. I'm really impressed of what he's done.
Absolutely, and I think he plays with a massive chip on his shoulder for a variety of reasons.
Especially for a number 1 pick, he really does.
Yeah, and being left off Olympic team rosters and things like that. Now, Paul Millsap of the Atlanta Hawks said the Wizards are playing MMA. Does he have a point there, or is that just whining?
This is just a sore loser. I mean, listen, I love Paul Millsap, a total overachiever, but the NBA has made it clear, Maggie and Ryan, they're going to let this type of play, to a degree, happen. And you have to adjust. And Paul Millsap, for being a grinder, I'm not saying hurt Bradley Beal, but you can put him on the floor. You have to respond. And Atlanta right now to me is in a transition phase. Washington is an up-and-coming team. They're playing much more physically, more confidently. You have to adjust if you're Atlanta. You have to hit back. I'm not saying hurt somebody, but you have to do something. The Polish hammer, you know you're getting out of this dude, man. You got to hit him back. Come on, Paul Millsap.
Yeah, between Morris and between Marcin Gortat, I mean, that's a lot of muscle down low.
Yeah.
And what's it say about their mindset, too? I mean, after one playoff game, he's complaining about the referees and the physicality of the opposing team.
Yeah.
Imagine if they were playing Patrick Beverly and the Rockets, what they'd be saying.
They seem they're already, one step behind going against this Washington team.
Yeah, and to me, when you say after game one you lose, and you could, to me, even though it was a close game, I thought Washington was much more physical. You start to think, okay, well, how are we going to win this series? Because we're not going to get out physical, we're not going to get out bodied if you're Washington. So Atlanta right now is in a lot of trouble. Also, I'm not sure Atlanta really knows what they want to do in the backcourt. Struder comes in, he plays well, you take him out. I just don't know what they're doing. And Washington, to me, with their backcourt and Beal and Wall, superior.
Yeah, no identity crisis when it comes to the Wizards. This is a starting five that's logged over 1,000 minutes, almost 1,300 minutes together this season. It's by far the most in the league. Jordan Schultz, this has been fun. Caliente takes. That's what I'm calling you.
To get a little different vocabulary.
I like that. You're going to be with us all playoffs long. Really appreciate that.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, it's been a rough start for the St. Louis Cardinals. They have yet to win a series this season, and they were just swept by the Yankees over the weekend. But considering the history of the Redbirds, we expect them to turn things around in a hurry. I recently sat down with their brand new center fielder, Dexter Fowler. Watch this. World Series champion, all-star Dexter Fowler, great to have you.
Thank you.
Have you gotten your World Series ring yet?
I haven't. When I go back to Wrigley, I'm going to get it. So
You've
I'm
seen the
excited about
photos?
it. I have. I've seen the photos. I've talked to the boys. I was in there, so I kind of saw a digital copy of it.
Okay. Is there anything about your ring that's unique?
I don't know. I haven't seen my ring, so I don't know. Maybe they put the You Go We Go in there, so that'd be sick.
Okay, let's talk about some things that have been happening so far this season now that you're with the Cardinals. Steven Piscotty, I don't think I've ever seen this before in my life. He gets hit 3 times in one inning, twice on the elbow and then unfortunately in the head. Is that the weirdest thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, that was crazy. It was crazy. And then, it was scary at first. He goes down, he gets hit in the earpiece, and he goes down, and you're like, is this dude all right? Then he, after you go and you watch the film, and he got hit, then he keeps his elbow guard on while he's running bases, and fortunately he gets hit in the elbow guard. He's right-handed, so he got hit in this ear hole. Had he got hit, so luck was on his side for sure.
You play in the outfield, so you hear your fair share of heckling. Has that changed now that you've won a World Series? Instead of people saying, oh, you're a bum, or saying the things that are mean, are they now saying, hey, great home run in Game 7?
No, they're traitor, or we're glad to have you, traitor, or thank you. I hear a lot of thank yous. I hear a lot of traitors, thank yous, and that's about it.
Oh, that's really two ends of the spectrum there. There's nothing in the middle.
So you don't know whether to cheer or not turn or whatever, so.
I once asked Steph Curry what's the weirdest thing a fan has ever said to him. And he said it was one time he was sitting on the bench and a fan came up and said his 5-year-old son would like to date his daughter, Riley. Has this happened yet with your daughter, Naya?
You know what? I do have parents coming up to me saying, I have my kid for your daughter. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready for that yet. It's definitely weird. But, I have my daughter for my teammates. I'm like, hey, so we could be in-laws. So I said, hey, save your son for my daughter.
So if it's a teammate, it's cool. If it's just a random fan,
person,
forget it. Keep walking.
Definitely.
For you and your wife, Aaliyah, have you decided sort of how you want to deal with social media when it comes to her and how much you want to let the public in on your lives?
We have Naya has her own social media accounts. We started off early. We're pretty organic on it. I mean, it's us, and I don't think we try to get out the realm too much. So we try to stay in our box, and if you like it, then follow us. If you don't, then that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great philosophy to have, and also considering another time when your family was in the news, of course, your wife, American citizen, but originally from Iran, and when you were asked about the executive order on this travel ban about countries that are primarily Muslim, You said it's unfortunate.
Right.
That caused this incredible backlash that I don't think you or a lot of people saw coming. What did you learn from that?
You know, you see people's true sides. You know, it's sad to say, but you know, at the end of the day, I'll always stick up for my family, especially if, like I said, if somebody asks me a question out of empathy for my family, I'm gonna answer it truthfully. And you know, no knock on anybody, and you know, people took it the wrong way and ran with it, and you know, that was their chance to see how really sensitive people are.
You have learned from one of the greats. Barry Bonds is a mentor of yours. What's the best non-baseball advice he's ever given you?
Best non-baseball advice probably would be yourself. Have fun, be yourself, and you know, just continue to do what you do.
I'm sure, I mean, you're not naive. At one point, he was one of the most polarizing people in baseball. Have you ever asked him about that time and what that was like for him to live through?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about it, and you know, he tells me to continue to, like I said, be myself, and you know, handle it different than he handled it. So.
In what way do you think that he show that regret about that time?
I don't know. I think he closed people out. He closed people out, and you know, you gotta go in and be yourself. I think he wishes he could have opened up a little bit more, but that was just the nature of the beast when he was there.
Of course, I'm sure as a baseball fan from a young age, you were always collecting baseball cards. Now you have your own card, which I'm sure is a little bit surreal. But since it's 2017, baseball cards are getting updated for the digital world. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's going from now physical to digital, and now I guess when you're hitting home runs, you can, before you even round the bases, they got your card, you know, of the home run you just hit. So, and then you can go down and sign them and then put them out to the world. So it's awesome. It's
Topps MLB Bunt 2017. This is the world now, right? How many home runs do you think you're going to be signing for the rest of your life?
You know what? Hopefully a lot. Hopefully a lot. Hopefully we have a lot more, you know, great moments, and they're captured by Topps and the bunt.
Hopefully many great moments captured on baseball cards for kids and adults to collect from here on out. Dexter Fowler, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Definitely.
ISO here, Steve. All right, well, this weekend in sports provided us with plenty of lasting images. Playoff basketball, hockey, even a little bit of French soccer, Maggie.
That wasn't
Now, we're going to reveal a few of the interesting and a bit curious moments. And since this is 2017 words, they don't always paint a full picture. So we're going to use emojis. We're calling this segment 3-moji. And let's start. Look at those emojis up there. The
so many to
poop
choose
made it
from.
Again, Maggie. We're going to start in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where Columbus defenseman Zach Werenski took a puck to the face from Pittsburgh's Phil Kessel.
No.
Look at that. Now, Werenski was bleeding all over the ice, but after leaving the game, the rookie returned to play in the third period. He tweeted this picture simply titled "Playoff Hockey." Maggie, give me an emoji for this.
I mean, there's no boxing emoji because that's what he looks like. He just finished a prize fight with Mike Tyson or something. I'm going to give this the flexing arm emoji because, I mean, this is toughness. It really is. And unfortunately, they lost 5-4 in overtime in this game. They're now down 0-3 to Pittsburgh. But I like the fact that he came back onto the ice. Listen, this is hockey players' bread and butter. They always claim they're the toughest athletes on earth. I think this proves it. To have that face on the ice in a playoff hockey game is just nothing but toughness. Oh,
that is toughness. Yeah, I'm going with the bandaged head emoji because not for Zach, for my own head. I got a headache just looking at that injury. The bruise has colors I've never seen on a human face before. And Maggie, he came back 40 minutes after this happened to play in the game.
Quick stitch job there.
God,
It looks like something out of
it.
Frankenstein. All right, soccer fans in France, they just can't control themselves. For the second time in a week, rowdy fans have invaded the pitch to physically harass the opposing team. Now, the latest embarrassment saw fans from Bastia attack players from Lyon. The match was postponed at halftime. We're expecting all types of sanctions to happen. Ryan, what emoji are you giving this story?
I'm going with the two hands together in prayer, Maggie. And
Yeah.
what I'm praying for is for these people to get a life. Are you kidding me? This is soccer. It is a game, people. You're attacking the players that you're going to watch. It's a sporting event. Get off the field. What are you doing? Please, get a life. Keep things in
I
perspective.
mean, we think that a couple, taunts and cheers is bad. I'm giving this one the hand on the forehead, just in shame. It's just like, what are we thinking here? Fans were setting off fireworks in the stands. Now, Bastia fans have sort of a bad history, negative history here. They're the ones who were hurling racial insults at Mario Balotelli, if you remember that story from several months ago. I mean, listen, be a fan, enjoy the game. Don't be part of the game. Don't make yourself part of the game. In what world is it okay to go onto the field of play to harass an opposing team's fans? They're going to get sanctioned. The fans are going to pay for this big time. And so is the team that they love, which is the irony of this whole thing.
What is it about soccer that fans get to that point? We're all sports fans.
Yeah.
We get fired up. But it seems like over and over, it's the soccer, the football fan.
This
that
makes the
takes it to that level.
streakers and stuff at like NFL games look for
that's a
downright
misdemeanor.
charming.
Come on. All right, in the NBA, it was a rough weekend for Coach Doc Rivers. Now, not only did he see his Clippers get upset at the buzzer in Game 1 against the Jazz, he also had a little run-in with a reporter post-game.
Doc, when Chris has a lane to the basket and he goes for a quick two, I mean, it sets up the opportunity. I mean, what's the philosophy on there? Is it, do you wait and say wave off an easy attack at the basket? Or in other words, he could have held up and tried to run the clock down to the final. When you were down two,
Who would do that? Why
like
would you ever do that?
Like to maybe like 5 seconds,
So
enough
if you
time for
miss,
an offensive.
the game's over.
Right. Well, no, like
that
5
makes
seconds.
no sense.
Right. I'm just asking.
No, that is like
Go
the
ahead.
dumbest thing I've ever heard. When you're down two,
Right.
you try
wanna
to
go-
score,
Exactly.
and
But I'm
then you put
saying
it on you don't wait.
You rely
no,
on your defense.
you score.
All right.
And if you can find another coach to tell you different, I want to meet him.
All right. I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
I'll let you know down there.
Yeah.
Maggie, they could make an emoji out of Doc Rivers' expression there.
I know.
Could someone come up with that? What is your emoji going with Doc?
Mine is the eyes wide with the red cheeks. I was like, whoa, Doc, play it cool. I mean,
There's the face.
First of all, I know that he's been asked dumber questions than this just because he's been around long enough that this, while it was not a very well-conceived question, it didn't make a lot of sense. I doubt it's really the dumbest question he's ever been asked. But if I was Doc, I know listen, emotions are high. You just lost this game. But I mean, I would play this one a little bit cooler. I would just kind of move on. I'd give it Greg Popovich at this point, just like next question.
All right, I'm giving it the hand on the chin and thinking, and I'm doing it on both ends here. First of all, I'm thinking, what is this reporter thinking? It's not football where they left too much time on the clock for Tom Brady to come back. They weren't thinking, oh, we left too much time on the clock for Joe Johnson to come beat us, right? So, yeah, I'm saying, what is he thinking? But the is for, really, Doc, the dumbest question you've ever heard? Now, you worked in Boston for a long time and had to answer a ton of questions from the media there. Yeah, that's a shot at the Boston
you just took a
media
shot.
there.
You used to
Some
be part of
friends
the
up there.
Boston media.
But also, hey, he coached Garnett. He coached Rondo. You telling me Rondo didn't ask something a little dumber than that once in a while?
Mind-boggling questions. Yeah, that one was unique. All right, that's our 3 emojis for today. I think we had some good ones.
Yeah, not bad.
Ryan, after weeks and months of talking about it, we're just days away from the NFL draft.
Finally.
And Mitchell Trubisky is expected to be the first quarterback off the board. For some perspective on the North Carolina signal caller, let's welcome in his coach from Mentor High School. That's right outside of Cleveland, Steve Trevisano. And Coach, really appreciate you joining us. First, let's start with some housekeeping here. We were all calling him Mitch through his junior season. Come to find out, he prefers to be called Mitchell. What do you call him?
Well, I think I'm to blame for the Mitch because I think I always called him Mitch, and his mom always gets on me for it. So it's probably my fault, but he never corrected me, so I have always called him Mitch. But I'll call him Mitchell. It doesn't matter, whatever he wants.
Okay, yeah, whatever he wants, right? And of course, he's expected to be that top quarterback off the board. How important do you think it would be for him to go #1 overall or just be that first quarterback off the board in 2017?
Well, I think he's just excited to find out where he's going. I know he's been traveling all over. He was out in California for 8 or 10 weeks training and then did the combine. Now he's been flying all over. I think he's excited to find out where he's going. Sure, he'd like to be the #1 pick, but, I know Mitchell, that probably isn't the thing that is all important to him. He's just ready to find where he's going and begin the next phase of his football career. And I'm sure he's real excited about it.
Coach, got to ask you, it seems like Mitchell's career, high school, college, has been a bit understated. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school, didn't go to a top-tier football program when it comes to Division I. He went to North Carolina, of course, had to sit a little while at UNC. Now he's getting this late push to be the #1 overall pick. What is it about his game that sometimes scouts and recruiters kind of overlook a little bit?
I don't think anybody around here thinks he should have been that way all along. He was a great football player in high school. He was Mr. Football in the state of Ohio and beat some of the best teams in the state of Ohio, by putting his team and his town on his back. He's a special young man. Not only is he a great player, he's there's the video there. He's an outstanding quarterback in all phases. He's got a great arm. He is of unbelievable accuracy and always has since the time he was a young guy with us. And mostly importantly, like you're seeing now, he's really, really good on his feet. He runs well. He's a complete player. He's had to go through some things to get his playing time, but I think that's only made him a better player along the way.
There are questions along that same vein about his experience. Did he take enough snaps at the college level? Does he have enough film to properly judge him? Coach, what is it about Trubisky that makes you think he can handle this big jump despite only starting 13 games at North Carolina?
Well, I think from our standpoint, he started as a sophomore, so we knew right away he was able to handle the big situation. We're one of the bigger high schools in the state of Ohio. We play in the top level, and he was able to handle that as a sophomore, stepping on the Cleveland Browns stadium in his first game as a starter, and handled it very well. Did a great job with it, and anytime he had his opportunity at North Carolina, he did great. He's been there for 4 years and had a lot of different chances along the way. Only started 1 year, but was there for 4 springs and 4 falls, and he's very ready. I'm sure had he gone back, he'd have been the #1 pick. He's that talented and that good.
All right, let's talk about the Browns a little bit. You mentioned that he was able to step on the Browns field in high school and really, step up to the occasion. Of course, the Browns have the #1 pick, the #12 pick, along with a host of others. We are obviously know that Mitchell is from right outside of Cleveland. Just how big of a Browns fan is Mitchell Trubisky?
I think he's a very big Browns fan. He's a Cavs fan. He's an Indians fan, just like all the Cleveland people are in the area. We support our teams, and that's important to us to watch them and see them be successful. And the Cavs, obviously, last year, and the Indians last year. Now it's time we get the Browns to that next level, and hopefully that hometown boy from Mentor, Ohio, can become that next Cleveland Browns quarterback that kind of turns it around, just kind of like LeBron did.
Yeah, have you ever talked to him about what it would mean to him to return home and lead the Browns out of mediocrity?
Well, I think that would mean a lot to him. I think he's got that ability to step up and do that. He's extremely talented, and he's got a huge family in the area. I think his mom has 8 or 9 brothers and sisters. His dad's got 4 or 5. It's a big family, and Mentor followed him when he went down to North Carolina, and we wore a lot of blue in the area, which usually isn't common for a team that's all red. But they became North Carolina fans, and I'm sure it's going to be the same way. Even if he doesn't end up at the Browns, it'll be the same way wherever he chooses to go.
All right, Coach. If you're not #1 on Mitchell's reference list, you're probably top 3, I would say. So let's say Browns hypothetically call you for an interview about Trubisky. What about his personality makes you think he would thrive with this hometown team?
Well, I think he's not that chest pumping, saluting himself kind of kid. He's about the team. He's about the school. He's about that he came from. He's about the community he's going to play for. I think he's the kind of young man who will be the face of the franchise wherever he goes. Whether that's Cleveland, hopefully for me, because then I can get to see games a little bit more often. But if not, wherever he goes, he's the kind of kid who could be the face of the franchise, the kind of kid will be they can put out there and say, this is a role model. This is a kid who's worked hard to get to where he is, and he's done things the right way. And wherever he ends up, I think he's going to be a great representation of their community and their state.
Just going to jump in for a second. We're reading in the MMQB this morning that the Cardinals are very high on Trubisky as well. So we could go from the Cardinals of Mentor High School to the Cardinals of Arizona. That's got a nice ring to it.
Anything, would he?
Yeah, plenty of red to root Mitchell on in the pros then, Coach. How about something we don't know, Coach? Is there a high school story we haven't heard about Mitchell?
Oh, boy, I don't know. I always tell the time when he was going through the recruiting process that it was funny because Ohio State had offered him, and J.T. Barrett took it before he did, and then Michigan State offered, and the other person took it. So he was kind of scrambling, and the North Carolina offensive coordinator, Blake Anderson, came up and said to Mitchell, we need to get you here this weekend, and his parents had something. So, he looked at him, and I said, well, let's go for a plane ride. And he and I jumped on a plane and went down to North Carolina together. And on our way, and he loved it and had a great trip, and obviously it went well. But on our way back, we're coming back, and because this was the first time he's ever flown, and the plane takes off, and all of a sudden the engine kind of made a funny noise. And he looks at me, and I look at him. I said, I think we're going back to North Carolina. So it was kind of a telltale sign of the day. But it was a great trip and a great opportunity to spend some time with him and help him out in that way.
That sounds like a harrowing tale. I'm surprised he didn't think, oh, my gosh, maybe North Carolina is not the place for me. This is a sign from above.
Yeah, it was a fun trip, and he enjoyed it and fell in love with Chapel Hill.
We've heard of schools not wanting their recruits to leave. They don't let them leave sometimes.
Yeah.
That was one way, I guess, to try to get them there.
Unique way. They really, really wanted him. Steve Trevisano, really appreciate your time and perspective. Of course, you were Mitchell Trubisky's high school coach and responsible for everyone calling him Mitch for all those years. Yeah. We're blaming you, Coach. Listen, good luck. Congratulations already on mentoring from Mentor High School this fantastic football talent. And I'm sure you'll be watching the draft with bated breath just like us.
Yeah, we look forward to it. It'll be a big day in the city of Mentor, and we can't wait to see where he ends up.
That was really a lot of fun there.
Very
Getting the
cool,
perspective
yeah.
from high school. He's a good high school player. And that tale about going to North Carolina.
How about that? On the plane?
I'd be like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
That's good. It worked out, though, for Larry Fedora.
And it's Mitchell. He likes
Mitchell. All right,
straight.
We got that. We settled it, and that's going to do it for this Monday episode of SI Now. We'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, but until then, stick with SI.com for all the latest news, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. Hope we made your Monday a little easier to digest.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
James drove his RAV4 hybrid into Hard Knocks Canyon, where he confronted death again and again. But death would have to wait. He earned a man's gratitude and his shirt. How far will you take the all-new RAV4 hybrid? Toyota, let's go places.